4 rounds into the World Championship, but only 2 men have topped the podium so far this season. 2003 World Champion Petter Solberg triumphed in Sweden and Mexico, while defending World Champion Sebastian Loeb won in Monte Carlo and New Zealand. Can the rest of the field respond? It's time for the Peugeot pairing of Marcus Gronholm and Marco Martin to show they have what it takes to win a rally in 2005.
Always there is somebody in front. If it's not Solberg, it's Loeb. So we have to find some solution.
Is it going to be Gronholm in front again then?
Very soon, I hope.
Solid rather than spectacular performances are keeping Gronholm and Martin in the thick of the battle for the title, but early championship leader Tony Gardemeister will be keen to halt his slide down the table. Despite no wins, Peugeot topped the manufacturer's standings, but arch-rivals Citroën are gaining ground, jumping from 5th place to 2nd in New Zealand. The holiday island of Sardinia provides the backdrop for the latest round of the championship. Tourists enjoying the beaches and the sunshine, while the drivers tackle the rocks and gravel of the surrounding countryside. It's only the 2nd time Sardinia has hosted the Rally Italia after taking over from San Remo last year. The action takes place in the north of the island, with the rally headquarters in the coastal town of Olbia. Petter Solberg won here last year, but the rally was a real car breaker. The teams also complained that it was too slow. The organisers' response has been to change 75% of the stages. So, what is the verdict?
Generally, the rally is hard and rough, and it's coming quite close to Cyprus or Greece.
Stones inside and outside, and it's really, really narrow and difficult.
Quite rough and it's a loose surface, so it's hard to find the traction, and you can easily get bounced offline, and then when you're offline, you're in big trouble.
So much loose and bad rocks around. It's going to be a very, very tricky rally, I think. It's a lot of things going to happen.
And Solberg, first on the road, will be the first to find out just how tricky it is.
6 right minus 40, line into 5 left flush, under the crest. Into early 6 right minus, open to the crest, 40, early short.
The Norwegian says his form is 10.5 out of 10. He won more than half the stages here last year. New stages this year, of course, but you can count on Solberg and co-driver Phil Mills to have prepared comprehensively. And to be up for the fight. And this is their main rival. Sebastian Loeb, the defending world champion, is just a point behind Solberg in the championship table, and he too is high on confidence after success on New Zealand's fast gravel stages. This is a very different challenge, much rougher, rockier rally. The team have reinforced the sump guard after it was damaged in Mexico, and Loeb's likely to have concerns about whether it'll hold up at the back of his mind.
Line into 6 left minus to the crest, extra long.
And the pressure's already on as Solberg started strongly. Instinctive, aggressive and committed. He's faster than anyone else over the early splits.
Yes, he's really impressive, bearing in mind he's the first car to drive this stage in anger. This has its own problems, as he would be the first driver to find any unknown slippery sections. Now that's a worry for sure, but his main concern is something else. Just look at the clean lines on the surface. Now those were formed by the recce 2 days ago, and it's very important for him to stay on those lines because that's where the grip is.
Through gate.
Oh, he's missed his braking here. No, he's just way too fast in half spins. But that's a much better option than hitting those gate posts.
Middle of a crest.
It's cost him 10 seconds, but he's still quicker than Loeb on stage 1. Marco Martin claims he's not yet totally at ease in the 307. But he's done enough to finish in the top 5 in all 4 rallies this season.
4 left narrows.
That's helped Peugeot consolidate their position at the top of the Manufacturers' Championship.
4 minus left long.
But Martin is 26 seconds off the pace on stage 1. Marcus Gronholm was second on the last two events. So he's certain to be hungry for victory. 11 rallies since he's won, and for this 2 times world champion, first is first and second is just not good enough.
This is one of the smoothest sections of the rally. He is certainly not shy with the use of the car's throttle. Just look at the commitment on this next wet, slippery corner. That was not a worry for the Finn, which shows he's up for the fight. Some really tough stages lie ahead with loose rocks and bumps. The 307 is strong enough to take the punishment. That's something the Finn will definitely take advantage of.
Gronholm wins the stage, 10 seconds faster than Solberg. That mistake on the first stage cost the Norwegian. He's third overall going into stage 2. The surface is changing constantly, offering different levels of grip. Where it's more slippery, you have to be less aggressive. But Solberg's still too aggressive. He's struggling to find the braking points. Even the best drivers in the world finding it tough here. He drops to 6th position. Loeb made setup changes in shakedown yesterday to help adapt the car for the event. But the adjustments weren't perfect initially, so he's now stiffened the suspension. And that works. He can now attack the rougher sections. He wins the stage and moves 7 places up the leaderboard to second overall behind Marcus Gronholm. This stage is much twistier, trickier, more representative of the rally as a whole. You can see the concentration as he attempts to keep up the pace on the bends. Though not as fast as Loeb on the stage, his rally lead increases to nearly 15 seconds. Away from the battle for the lead, Subaru's Chris Atkinson has been the best of the rest. The rookie's taken his teammate Petter Solberg's 3rd place overall. Just 2.5 seconds behind him is Francois Duval. Despite a close shave with a gate post. The Mitsubishi drivers said the Lancers definitely improved. Proof of that, Harry Rovanpera's 2nd fastest on the opening stage. But he drops 5 places down the leaderboard on stage 2, 20 seconds off the pace. And it's a similar story for teammate Gigi Gali. 5th on the opener and then out of the reckoning on the next, having broken a brake fluid line. He checks the damage at the end of the stage.
Gigi, you have a problem?
Yes, I think it's one pipe, brake pipe is brake, you know.
He's having to drive without front brakes. Armin Schwartz leads the challenge for Skoda. He's running 8th after the opening 2 stages. Ford's top driver is Tony Gardemeister, but he has failed to finish in 6 attempts in Italy. And there's trouble early on this year. Hitting that rock puts his steering wheel out of line, and he's 14th. But powering ahead of the factory Fords in a 2-year-old Focus is former Subaru driver Mikko Hirvonen. Desperate to impress, he's 3rd on stage 2, and that lifts him to 5th overall.
A great start by Hirvonen, ahead of big names like Petter Solberg and Marco Martin, who doesn't even feature in the top 8. But his Peugeot teammate Marcus Gronholm leads the way, establishing an early cushion ahead of Loeb.
Crews need to be on their best behaviour at the time control before stage 3, as it's situated within the walls of Sardinia's prison. The prison officers keeping a watchful eye, making sure no unwanted passengers leave the premises. The crews go about their usual business in an unusual environment.
100, keep right of a crest, 80, turn 1 left.
Making a swift getaway from the prison, Petter Solberg.
30. 6 right plus of a crest.
The roads which scar the Sardinian countryside are still suffering the damage of winter rainstorms. Solberg's digging into a softer, sandy base, which will get more rutted with every passing car. Solberg sets a good time, though, and moves up 3 places to 3rd. The rally leader, Marcus Gronholm, tackles the tricky, unpredictable road surface, determined to strengthen his lead. He's coming up to one of the fastest sections of the entire rally. 170 kilometers per hour on slippery gravel, and the surface is about to change to a short stretch of tarmac. There are some downhill hairpins coming up, and that presents an entirely different challenge. One he's struggling with because he's far too fast here. This looks like a stunt sequence from an action film. But the very real impact seems to have stunned the Finn.
The real reason for the accident was a mistake in the pace notes. They didn't warn him how sharp the corner really was. At this speed, by the time Gronholm realised, it was too late to hit the brakes.
Not surprisingly, the post-mortem is all about that mistake in the pace notes.
We have rolled on the stage, and can you turn around?
With the help of the fans, Gronholm gets the 307 back on its wheels, but now he doesn't know where he is or which way he's facing.
Which way? Tonne päin vissiin mä luulen. Which way? Which way? Tonne mä luulen. Hei, seis, ettei me ojaa. Which way? Tonne, oikealle. Direction!
With the crash and the confusion, he's lost a minute, and of course, the rally lead.
Jouhea suppuu 7.
With the help of Virtual Spectator, we can see exactly why Marcus Gronholm is so confused. He is driving through a series of hairpin corners, and when the incident happens, the car tumbles down the hillside. Marcus has no idea of how many times he's rolled or in which direction. The car's now pointing to the left, which is in fact the wrong way. Completely disorientated, Gronholm needs the spectators to put him right.
He'll be bitterly disappointed and furious about the mistake, but before he can kick himself or his co-driver, he must get the 307 back to the service park, where the mechanics will be the ones under pressure. With all the damage to the car, it'll be a busy service. Time for the driver then to reflect on what exactly has gone wrong.
Marcus, what happened?
No, I went too fast. It was an asphalt part on the stage, and a little bit too optimistic maybe the corner before, and I came really hard, and the braking and the car didn't stop at all to the left, to the right, really tight corner, and we rolled.
Very disappointing to lose the lead.
Yeah, of course, but it was really my mistake. So.
An anxious Gronholm can do nothing but hope that the mechanics can perform a miracle. And don't forget, this is all against the clock.
They've got to change the front and rear suspension, the steering rack, the front cross member, a front drive shaft, the driver's door, the driver's seat, the bonnet, the windscreen wipers, the four wheels and tyres. And the Peugeot mechanics managed to do all of that, as well as all the routine service checks, in just 27 minutes and 20 seconds.
But it's not just the mechanics Marcus Gronholm has to thank. If it weren't for the car's roll cage, the Peugeot 307 would have been a write-off.
Designed by computer, the roll cage has 50 metres of metal tubing welded to the body shell. Not only does it protect the crews in an accident, it dramatically strengthens the body shell, which is why Marcus Gronholm could continue in the rally.
Sebastian Loeb has now inherited the lead, but the big surprise of the rally so far must be Mikko Hirvonen's performance in his non-works Ford, up in second place. Marcus Gronholm's now off the leaderboard, of course, way down in 22nd.
So now Gronholm has his work cut out. As in Monte Carlo and Sweden, his own mistake has cost him a strong position. Just hours after such a massive accident, any casual driver would be suffering from shock and probably have some fear behind the wheel. Not so a professional rally driver with the experience and resilience of Gronholm. And incredibly, he wins the stage, lifting him up 8 places to 14th. Third place Petter Solberg too has to make up for a couple of early errors. The problems faced by these top drivers show how challenging this rally is. And the Norwegian now has more than the conditions to deal with. He reports failing brakes and clutch.
Crashed at 15. Keep right to the crest, the ball.
But he's still just 5.8 seconds slower than Gronholm.
Keep right to the crest.
Rally leader Sebastian Loeb is one of the few not to have had any problems so far. He's cool and confident through the narrow rockline stage, where the passage of cars on this second run is exposing dangerous rocks embedded in the sandy base. He's second fastest on stage 4 to extend his lead over Mikko Hirvonen. He's nearly 20 seconds off Loeb's pace on this stage. François Duval is fourth coming into the stage. Just 0.4 of a second behind Petter Solberg. His performance has got stronger as the day's gone on, and he's looking quick here. There's Solberg's time. And Duval will be faster. Yes, he's overhauled the Norwegian. And he's done enough to get past Hirvonen too. Duval takes second place, a good stage for Citroën. So going into the final 2 stages of the day, François Duval's just 9 seconds behind his teammate Sebastian Loeb. He scored his first points for the team in the last rally. And though he says his confidence never dipped, it must have been tough for the young Belgian. So he's keen to impress.
This man's on a mission and is really attacking. Oh, but he's attacking too much. And that's a big smash.
Oh, vite, sors. Vous faites quoi? Ben, on sort.
Unlike in Gronholm's case, Duval's pace notes were correct, but Duval did not pay attention to them and was way too quick into the corner.
That's why you were second. What's happened?
Yes, on the mid stage on the crest, I turn a little bit too late. I go on the roll, the first time for me. Yes, it's a difficult season for me.
Chris Atkinson feels his tyre choices let him down. Costing him 3 places on stage 4.
60.
But what was that noise? It sounds like he's hit one of those exposed rocks.
What happened?
Co-driver Glenn McNeil asked what's happened to the car.
What have you ripped off? What have you done? I've lost everything.
I've lost everything, says the young Australian. A rear wheel's come off. His day's rallying is over. Gigi Galli is competing in a WRC event on his home soil for the first time. And that sounded serious. The same rock Atkinson hit has broken his suspension. Galli, the 3rd casualty of stage 5. He calls it a day at the refuel. Sardinia has shown its teeth. How many more will get bitten? Tony Gardemeister's been improving. He's on Michelin's new hard tyre and is perfectly placed to take advantage when rivals drop out. He ends the day 5th. Just ahead is Harry Rovanperä. He lost time through punctures in the morning loop, and though using the hardest compound Pirelli now, he's still suffering tyre wear. That said, harder specification dampers have made the car more stable. The most remarkable performance, though, is that of Mikko Hirvonen. Problems for others have helped, but he's also driven the car with confidence and commitment, and is now in 3rd position. Just behind former teammate Petter Solberg. Those half spins of the morning behind him, he's been consistent and quick all afternoon, regaining lost ground and consolidating 2nd place.
Right to the crest, opens 40.
But he hasn't been able to claw into Sebastian Loeb's lead. The Frenchman wins stages 5 and 6, and at the end of the first day has a lead of more than half a minute.
There are still 11 stages remaining over 2 tough days and plenty of time for Solberg to catch Citroën's top man. A great fight back from Marcus Gronholm after his big crash sees him in 7th place, just behind his teammate Marco Martin. Sebastian Loeb may be clear of the pack for now, but with Sardinia already catching out plenty of top drivers on day one, he can take nothing for granted. Find out what happens on day two after the break. One comes up on day two of the Sardinia Rally, with Sebastian Loeb hoping to push on to victory. The drama of day one showed why you can only survive in this sport if driver and co-driver are in perfect harmony, with an accurate set of pace notes.
Race 45 right past time.
Driving at high speeds on these narrow, tight and rock-strewn roads, good pace notes are absolutely vital if you want to keep the car on the road. With so many new stages this year, driver and co-driver start with pretty much a blank sheet of paper. Crews are allowed just 2 low-speed drives through the stages on the recce before the rally starts to make their notes. This is Petter Solberg and Phil Mills on the recce. On the first passage, Petter will have dictated the severity and the length of the corners and where he wants to position the car on the road. Then here on the second passage, Petter has a chance to make adjustments for the higher speeds he'll be carrying on the rally. Listen as Phil Mills reads out the original notes and then hear Petter making the changes he wants.
Keep middle of a crest, 60, 6 right plus of a crest, 40, 3 right tightens 2. To keep left of the crest into 4 right minus tightens to 2, so adding a crest.
Even when Solberg is going flat out in the event, he's making minor adjustments ahead of a second run through the stage. Listen again to Solberg as Phil Mills grabs a pencil to make the changes.
Slow line into 6, slow line, 6 left minus half long.
Every little detail important because get the notes wrong like Grunholm or fail to listen to them like Duval and the consequences are disastrous.
Day one was tough enough. Day two is even tougher. The longest leg with the longest and roughest stages, so pace notes even more critical than ever. Mikko Hirvonen in third is ahead of both the factory Fords. But he loses his brakes early on stage 7 and then damages the steering by hitting a rock. As he struggles to control the car, he's gone off the road. One of the trees shunted the car back on all 4 wheels and he staggers along the stage. But it doesn't sound good. From hero to zero so swiftly.
Yesterday was really good day, and also this test, at least the split times, I was in the same speed than yesterday, so it would have been a good battle. But unfortunately we had some small problems and I hit the storm, so end of the rally.
Hirvonen's former teammate Petter Solberg is second overall. Last year he led Sebastian Loeb by 34 seconds at the end of day one and went on to win. This year he trails him by nearly the same time. Playing catch-up is hard. And on stage 7 he drops another 7 seconds to the rally leader. Loeb has an amazing ability to make the hardest task look easy. But he does have one material advantage over Solberg. He's using Michelin's new hard tyre, which worked so well in New Zealand and is similarly suited to the hot abrasive surface here. The sweeping sections of the stage give the fans a chance to hear the roar and feel the raw power of rally cars. And they watch Loeb extend his lead. No such joy for Harry Rovanperä. He's worried about his Pirelli tyres, hoping they can stand up to the abrasive gravel. Oh, perhaps concentrating too much on his concerns, not enough on his notes. Too late on the brakes there, and the stall cost him more precious seconds. Probably some pride. But despite losing time, Rovanperä moves up to third thanks to Hirvonen's retirement. Just behind him, Tony Gardemeister and Marco Martin. Only seconds separate the 3 drivers. Martin is just 2.1 seconds behind Gardemeister coming into stage 8.
He's rising to the challenge and is trying hard to make up those 2.1 seconds. Here you can see him left foot braking, which on these slow and twisty sections will help him steer and control the car. But he's lost the car here. He was lucky not to spin. This is not only the longest stage, it's also the toughest and roughest. There's danger everywhere. No one would choose this stage to fight for a position.
Even so, he set a good time at the 22-kilometre split. Now, here's his immediate rival in the battle for fourth. The Finn knows he's under pressure. Every split second counts. He'll soon be approaching the split, so we can see how his narrow lead is holding up against the attacking 307. And he's lost 1.2 seconds already. Now less than a second separates him from Martin, and Martin is on a mission.
Martin is still not happy with the handling of his 307, although if you cast your mind back to New Zealand, he beat Gardemeister on the last stage for a position, but this stage is far more demanding. 28:41.9, not a bad time.
Our case, there is 2 passengers in this car. I'm not driving it, the car drives me.
So Martin's saying he'd had trouble controlling the car. Does that mean Gardemeister has more hope of holding him off?
Well, Gardemeister, on the other hand, is driving a car that Martin would be far more at home in. The Focus should steer and handle far better on this tortuous stage. Certainly more to Martin's liking. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think he wanted to steer the Focus up that road. That will cost him at least 10 to 15 seconds, especially having to select the reverse gear. The question is, how fast was he on this last sector?
Well, let's have a look at the time, and he's already slower. He's lost that much coveted 4th place. That overshoot really has cost him. 14.6 seconds lost on one stage. He's now 12.5 seconds behind Martin. Now Harry Rovanperä might feel the force of the chasing Martin. He's in 3rd place and was 14.7 seconds ahead of the Estonian. Despite suffering with gearbox problems on this long and difficult stage, he only drops 4 seconds to Martin. A superb drive. No nerves in evidence from Marcus Gronholm.
Just look how quick he's going, with a rock face on the left and a drop on the right, with all these bumps, jumps and bad dips. I can tell you, he's going for it. My money would be on Marcus in this battle.
He's 14 seconds faster than Martin, closing right in on his teammate as well as Gardemeister and Rovanperä.
A 4-way battle for 3rd with just 25 seconds separating the 4 drivers. Ahead of them, Petter Solberg looks secure in 2nd place, but he can't seem to make any real impression on the lead of Sebastian Loeb. At the day's only service stop in the Sardinian port of Olbia, Loeb still feels he can't afford to relax with someone as talented as Solberg on his tail.
Sebastian, you've increased the lead a small bit. It's been a pretty good morning.
Yes, it's going well for the moment. Peter was very fast also, and it's a nice battle in the last stage. It was very close all the stage, and I have to push hard to keep the lead. I don't want to let him coming back. So I was pushing hard this morning, and stages are rough and it's difficult for the car and everything. So we'll see this afternoon.
Petter, how's it been this morning?
Yeah, it's been good. We have had good speed. Lost a little bit of time on the first stage because of Mikko, and but no problems. I'm trying hard.
Now the big question, the second run through the stages and these Pirelli tyres, what's going to happen?
It's going to be absolutely perfect.
The rally leader won't be pleased to hear that. Loeb knows that Petter Solberg will be attacking. Loses 2.1 seconds to the Norwegian on stage 9. Though he has a solid-looking advantage, he feels under pressure to maintain his pace. And on stage 10, he's fastest again. When you look at him like this, it looks so simple. The reason for that is that Loeb's driving style is so smooth and so efficient. He looks like he's running on rails rather than slippery gravel. You can only watch and admire. This is his 6th stage win. And his lead now 35.5 seconds. While he pushes to stay in front, Marcus Gronholm is the man making the main moves in that fight for third. And he'll be fancying his chances of getting that podium place. He was quicker than his 3 rivals, Gardemeister, Martin and Rovanperä, on the short stage 9. But on the 30 kilometres of stage 10, he makes serious headway. By the end of the stage, just 13 seconds separate Gronholm in 6th to Rovanperä in 3rd. While the leaders fight amongst themselves for the podium places, let's catch up on how some of the other drivers have been doing on day 2. Hitting the rocks, but not the headlines, privateer Manfred Stoll. He was running in 10th at the start of the day, but that impact on stage 7 cost him 2 places. François Duval, who had a bad accident on day 1, entered again under the Super Rally system. That was almost as spectacular as his crash. He still has an outside chance of scoring points for Citroën. Skoda's Armin Schwarz was 9th overall coming into stage 10. Clutch problems ended his participation in day 2, and he was later excluded from the rally for illegal assistance at the refuel. With Ford teammate Gardemeister chasing a podium place, Roman Cresta has been told just to finish, and preferably enjoy himself. He's done better than that and got into the points in 8th place. Just ahead, the former British champion Mark Higgins in a privately entered Focus. He put in a notable performance on stage 8, moving 3 places up the leaderboard.
But with 1 stage to go on day 2, all the attention is focused on that exciting battle for 3rd. 6th place Gronholm has been on a charge all day, and he'll be aiming to put even more pressure on the 3 drivers ahead of him.
Remember, Gronholm is just 13 seconds off 3rd place Harry Rovanperä, with teammate Marco Martin and Tony Gardemeister between him and the Mitsubishi. A close fight, and the Peugeot driver is a man with a stubborn streak. He won't give up. And he makes his intentions clear with yet another quick time. The first of his rivals to feel the pressure is Tony Gardemeister, just 5 seconds ahead. He's one of only 2 drivers to have scored points in all 4 events so far, testament to his consistency and Ford's reliability.
Oil pressure. Oil pressure, oil pressure.
But there's something wrong. The Focus has lost oil pressure.
7 kilometers to go at the moment. Low oil pressure.
This is a driver's nightmare. There's nothing he can do but pull over, and he's forced to retire from the day's rallying. His hopes dashed.
I don't know what happened. Okay, there is a lot of bumps and like this, but it doesn't hit so hard nowhere, because also some car looks very straight, and we will see.
So Gardemeister out of the fight. And Marco Martin is next in line to feel the heat from his teammate. His lead over Gronholm just 8.4 seconds. And he can't defend that against his Peugeot rival. He's much slower than Gronholm, and he's lost his position. So Gronholm overhauls his teammate. Martin now 5.9 seconds behind him. And Harry Rovanperä is just 13.2 seconds ahead of him. If he can't hold off Gronholm, the Peugeot will have climbed from 6th to 3rd in just 1 stage. So let's see how he responds to the challenge. This is a remarkable drive. And he matches his former teammate's time exactly. The one man to defy Gronholm holds third and that precious lead. Keeping his distance from the chasing pack is second place Petter Solberg. Another strong performance. The Norwegians are second faster than Rovanperä and Gronholm. But he's gaining no ground on the masterful Sebastian Loeb. His progress seems almost serene, but is actually a masterclass in fine driving. Amongst the best in the world, this man still stands out. And on this long and very difficult stage, he's in a league of his own, winning the stage, beating Solberg by 20 seconds and extending his lead to nearly a minute.
I saw in the stage that I have a good grip and a good feeling, so when I saw that we begin to beat him, I tried very hard to take a good lead. Now I think tomorrow I can slow down a bit and not make any mistake.
So the podium positions at the end of day 2 occupied by Loeb, Solberg and Rovanperä. After his engine problems on that last stage, 8th place Tony Gardemeister re-enters tomorrow with a 5-minute penalty under Super Rally rules. Join us after the break as the rally leader goes in search of his third win of the season to take him back to the top of the championship table. It's day 3 of the Sardinia Rally. We've seen crashes, smashes and an exhilarating battle for third place. And on the final day there are 6 stages with no service, so even a minor mechanical niggle could ruin the rally for some and raise the hopes of others.
6 stages without any service is long, so we'll have to be a bit careful not to make any mistake, and hopefully we have no problem with the car.
An early morning start, and that means low sun and no wind. It's been dusty in the Sardinian mountains, and the equation of low sun plus dust equals poor visibility.
3 right, 30, 4 plus left.
Day 2 ended with disappointment for Marco Martin, as he was overhauled in the battle for third by teammate Marcus Gronholm.
6 minus left, 50.
He's just 6 seconds behind the leading Peugeot, but is losing time as he struggles through the hanging dust. His priority is definitely safety. Ahead, Gronholm's priority is holding fourth and attacking Harry Rovanperä in third.
This dust is an absolute nightmare for the drivers. Visibility is down to just 2 car lengths in places. Imagine driving your car in thick fog. You'd reduce your speed dramatically. But for the drivers in the WRC, it's a completely different story. They still have to push hard, and they can only afford to reduce their speed by a fraction in comparison to you or I. Remember we talked about pace notes on day 2? The drivers will be relying on them far more in these conditions.
Now Gronholm beat his teammate Martin by 28 seconds, but is he gaining ground on Rovanperä here? The Mitsubishi driver says the past 2 days have been his best of the season so far. The team have told him to go for maximum attack, and he's flying despite the difficult conditions. He's already 13 seconds ahead of Gronholm, and this is a sparkling performance from the Lancer. It looks like he could even beat him and extend his lead. Yes, he has. He now leads Gronholm by 16.2 seconds. And even his co-driver is impressed.
Wow.
3 seconds faster than Marcus.
Yes, we really try coming, but it's incredible dusty all the way on the stages. It's quite dangerous.
The dust's a real problem, but second place Petter Solberg has a strategy to combat the low visibility. He decides to take a 10-second time penalty by arriving late at the stage start, giving an extra minute for the dust to settle after the car ahead of him on the stage.
6 left minus.
But this isn't in his plans.
6 left minus. 80.
His strategy clearly doesn't work. Over the course of the stage, Solberg drops another 19 seconds on top of his penalty, the rally leader Sebastian Loeb. After his dominant performance on the final stage of day 2, when Loeb opened up his lead to nearly a minute, he can afford to back off a little over the 66 kilometres of day 3. He can afford to back off, but he doesn't. An 8th stage win for the Frenchman. He now leads the rally by 1.25 minutes from Solberg, with Martin losing ground in the battle for third and Marcus Gronholm failing to close in on Harry Rovanperä. And that will have frustrated the 2-times world champion, so battle commences on stage 13. And Gronholm pushes. It's twisty and technical, and the experienced Finn pulls out all the stops to win stage 13. And he's fast again on 14. So there's no respite for Rovanperä. He's 16 seconds ahead, but will know how fast the Peugeot was here. And he's coming towards the end of the stage. But that's not a good sign. That impact has definitely damaged the Lancer. And he's losing time now. And in fact drops more than 16 seconds, giving Gronholm third place with just 1/10 of a second to spare. As if losing third isn't bad enough, it turns out he's broken the wishbone. There's no service, so he'd have to struggle through 40 kilometres with wrecked suspension. It's over. Rovanperä's magnificent drive ends on the road section. No points, but he is taking consolation from his performance.
Braking a little bit too late and break the car. That is very disappointed, but I'm a little bit anyway happy as we can pushing with and fighting with top cars, and that is good news.
It's just that kind of pressure-induced error that Sebastian Loeb wants to avoid. The Frenchman, though, very rarely makes mistakes, and with his substantial lead, he has no need to take risks. So he can enjoy the ride, and so can we. The world champion on top of the world. He does drop 7.5 seconds, but stays safely set for 10 points. The only slight concern is that the long downhill sections have taken a toll on his brakes. So when it gets to the end of the stage, he wants to give them as long as possible to cool down, and is unwilling to use them, even at a snail's pace.
Oh, you come with me slowly, but I don't want to stop the car, so you can come a bit.
Sebastian, obviously you're concerned about the brakes and everything, but
it's okay, but it's a big downhill here, so if I stop, it will be hot and it can be like this after, so I prefer to let it go a bit. That's all.
With 3 stages remaining, there's a regroup in the mountain town of Tempio Pausania. A chance for the fans to get autographs. And the crews to top up their fluid levels. For third-placed Marcus Gronholm, time to reflect on what might have been, but that huge crash on day 1.
Of course I made a mistake, but even without the mistakes, I could have not been maybe higher than I am now, third. I don't know, we have some problem to solve with the handling and as well the tires.
Are the team listening to you when you ask what to do, what to change?
I hope so, I hope so. I've been many years in our team, so I hope they listen.
Whatever his reservations, Gronholm's fight back has been dramatic and inspirational. Remember, at the end of stage 3, he was right down in 22nd position overall. But he's fought his way into a solid podium position. Ahead of him, Petter Solberg. If second-place Solberg gets through without trouble, he'll be earning his 75th podium finish. But like Gronholm, it was the win he was seeking. That honour looks certain to fall to Sebastian Loeb. He's heading for his first win in Italy. No one has been able to match his pace in Sardinia, and it's not just his pace that's impressive. He's kept totally clear of trouble on a very troublesome rally. As the rally approaches its climax, let's catch up on the news from some of the other crews. Marco Martin may have lost out in the battle for third, but he's set to be one of only 2 drivers to finish all 5 rounds in the points. Even so, he says he won't be able to get any more pace out of the 307 unless the team work with him to find a solution to the car's handling problems. Tony Gardemeister is the other driver heading for a 5th successive points finish. Despite the failed oil pump on day 2, he's a place behind Martin in 5th. In 6th is his teammate Roman Cresta. This is set to be his best ever finish in the World Rally Championship. He has been involved in a battle with Mark Higgins. The former British champion was ahead of the Czech driver until he lost time with this overshoot on stage 12.
90 right 4 plus.
He fought to regain his position until hydraulic problems ended his hopes and dropped him down the leaderboard. Coming in the opposite direction, François Duval. He clawed his way up the table after his massive off on day 1. He's in a position to take 2 points for Citroën.
Duval's teammate Sébastien Loeb is looking good for maximum points with just one 12.7-kilometre stage to go. He now leads Petter Solberg by more than a minute, with Marcus Grönholm a further 2 minutes behind him.
So to the final stage of Rally Italia, Sardinia. Marcus Grönholm will be disappointed that his winless streak, stretching back to Finland last year, continues. But his team, Peugeot, are concentrating on amassing manufacturer's points. And after the time lost through his smash, they'll be pleased to see Grönholm take his 3rd consecutive podium finish of the season. And it's set to be a 4th podium finish for Petter Solberg. But he really needs wins to win back the championship crown from Sébastien Loeb.
In the last rally in New Zealand, serious tyre problems prevented Petter from keeping pace with Loeb. Those problems haven't been completely resolved here. And in addition, Solberg and his team must be a little concerned about the sheer speed of his championship rival Loeb. Just a short stretch of tarmac before the finish line. That's 8 driver points. It's good, but not good enough to keep his lead in the championship.
Petter, if everything stays as it is, that's 3 wins now to Sebastian, 2 to you. What are you going to do about him?
Well, we just have to see on the next rally and see if we can find some new tires for next week. But I have to go. I've been overheating on the stage. It's not.
No overheating and no tyre problems for Sebastian, but he did have some other difficulties of his own here. A poor suspension setup slowed him down on the very first stage, but he changed the setup himself on the road section before stage 2, and from that point has never looked back. The strength of his car and his ability to get the best out of it, plus his superb driving skills in any conditions, makes this a potent partnership.
And the partnership between Loeb and his co-driver Daniel Elena is another vital ingredient. No pace note problems for the Citroën crew. They've been dominant from day 1. And in Italy, it's the all-French trio of Loeb, Citroën and Michelin heading for a stylish victory. A job superbly done by crew and team.
Last year, at the end of the season, we talked together with the team, with Michelin and everybody, and we said we have really to improve because we will not win again on gravel. It will be too difficult, and we worked a lot in the winter and every time, and now the car seems really to be perfect, and so I'm confident for the future.
8 stage wins out of 17 for Loeb converts into a winning margin of just under a minute. That means 2 more points than his arch rival for the championship, Petter Solberg. Marcus Grönholm's 6 points for third keeps him in the hunt for the world title.
You say you've got a few rivals, but really at the moment it's just you and Petter. You seem to be in a class of your own.
Yes, it's a big battle between Petter and me every time, and But okay, it's nice. He's very fast. Sometimes he has a bit of advantage, sometimes me, but it's really interesting.
Both you and Sebastian have been really dominant this season. You're not letting any other drivers get a look in.
Aye, we're going to keep it like that, but the other way between me and him.
Confirmation that Sebastian Loeb has retaken the championship lead from Solberg. Marco Martin is still third, despite his problems handling the Peugeot 307, and Gronholm has now opened up a 2-point lead over Tony Gardemeister. In the manufacturers' table, Citroën have closed the gap on Peugeot, but only by 1 point. Subaru are third and struggling to keep in touch with the leaders. It's Cyprus next, which means an opportunity for Subaru and Solberg to repeat their 2004 success on another tough gravel rally. We leave Sardinia at the end of a spectacular event that's seen some brilliant driving and some dramatic crashes. Join us again in Cyprus, and don't forget to keep in touch with all the latest rally news on WRC.com.